Hey everyone, brought back Anna Kelly. We did commercial market first. Now we're going to do residential. How you doing, Anna?
I'm good. How are you, Michael?
I'm good. I'm a little depressed, a little nervous after our commercial talk, but I think when we talk residential, at least in my opinion, it is really a different story, right? If you're a
Well,
landlord of single family homes, I think you were I think you're going to be treated pretty well by what's coming in the next year or two. What do you think?
I haven't thought through it enough yet. I was so surprised, honestly, this morning that
Yeah.
both Senate seats are going Democratic, that I just have been thinking about, oh my goodness, there's no balance of power. All these tax code changes are coming. So I've been thinking about the tax code potential changes and how that could impact commercial real estate, because that's a lot of what I have,
Yeah.
that I haven't really let my mind go too far there. So this conversation is good and off the cuff.
Sure.
I think I predicted before we saw these potential tax changes, I predicted that we would see some softening in single family prices in many areas of the country where they've suddenly gone up really high because of low interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really even thought about how interest rates might change under the Democrats yet. So that's probably something we should think about too.
Mm-hmm.
But while there are really low interest rates, people are still buying. However, in the last 3 months, mortgage applications are down significantly,
Yep.
Which means the demand is slowly coming down compared to like this pent up demand that was there. So when you have not a lot of supply and a lot of demand, real estate prices are high. Single family, we're talking.
Yep.
And that's what we've seen in a lot of areas right now. The areas that people aren't flocking because of taxes and, heavy-handed pandemic lockdowns and stuff like that. So those areas aside, we obviously know there's pain and there's just going to be more pain when people also have to pay more taxes if they make a profit or sell. But for single family, I think that once your demand gets kind of in normal range, you might see some more supply. And if there's more supply and less demand, prices could come down a tad. Okay. The question that I've got to think through, and I think we should talk about, is how do these potential tax code changes that we talked about in the first video, potential for increased personal ordinary income rates, increased capital gains rates, elimination of a 1031, and elimination of the stepped-up basis. How do those things impact most owners of single-family homes? Most owners are not investors.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where I'm at, where all those changes are part of initial calculations in commercial markets. Most residential landlords, the 1 through 4 houses, they bought one instead of selling it, they rented it out, they kind of move forward. Most of them never calculated any of those things. They don't calculate stepped up basis. There's none of those things that they're concerned about. So I don't think it changes that decision. But let's go back to the demand side, because you and I both know that individual single family homes predominantly are owned not by investors.
Right.
67% are owner occupants.
Right.
Thus 32 or 33 as investors. I believe very likely one of the goals of the next administration is going to be to increase that to 70%. I believe, given what I've seen, they consider home ownership good.
Yes.
So they are
incentivize you to buy homes.
Exactly where I was going. So it is very likely that they are going to incent and may even try to repeat past incentives in a very different environment, like a $15,000 tax credit. If you add gasoline to a campfire, it can become a forest fire.
Right.
And I've done a couple of videos now that if for example, if you added a $15,000 tax credit in July or August of 2021, you'll have 20% appreciation, right? After a year of 15% appreciation. You think it's unaffordable now, just wait, right? So I think the next administration wants more homeowners. I think they will wear that as a badge of honor. So if you own a lot of single family homes, you're probably okay with that. I mean, that was my first thought.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting thought, and I think very, very possible, because we already are seeing new programs to incent low income people to become homeowners. So we're already seeing that, but I think that definitely keeps demand in that first time home buyer price range higher. So I think that's a good, a good distinction is if you're buying houses and you're renting them and they are in the, $100,000 to $200,000 price range, let's just say around that for the average home, where you can get $1,000 to $2,000 a month, then prices are going to go up and rents are just going to have to keep going up to keep up with it for people to have that 1% rule.
And that's where I was going to next. Exactly.
Yeah.
What happens, again, we've been here for a while, right? Prices will accelerate first. It's happening right now. They add the gasoline, prices go up more. What will be the delayed reaction? 6, 9, maybe 12 months, but probably 6 or 9 months, rents will jump. Even in California, the rent control that we have doesn't impact single family homes, right? This 5% increase, that's all multifamily. Single family homes are not covered by it. So
and that's really good, and you hope that doesn't get implemented, because that's the next question is how high can they go? Because affordability is a big issue too. So they want you to be a homeowner, but they want rents to stay affordable. And so you're seeing rent caps instituted in a lot of places that are driving values down, because now people can't increase the value of their commercial properties like apartments by increasing rents and cutting expenses. And oh, by the way, if you can't raise rents and your expenses and your taxes go up, which do in a lot of lefter leaning states, then you really have no way to make your property more valuable, and people stop buying and prices come down. Bless you. So on the single family, for not having rent caps at this point, it is something that makes single family, very attractive. So I think that's a really good point. I think that houses that are over that first time home buyer price range are probably not going to go up as high in value.
It'll be skewed for sure, right? Let's just put some numbers on it. My median in Fresno, let's just call it 390, right? And most new housing tracts are 450 and above. So what I'm telling people, if you're buying stuff like 75% of median and you can cash flow, right? Because again, I'm no alligators.
Yes.
You probably are going to see a disproportionate amount of appreciation. And if you're lucky enough to have built a portfolio since 2010 and they cash flow now, you're going to have another really good year, right? Because 15% in 20, you get a 15 or 20% in 21, you get another 10% in 22. These things, that's like real numbers at this point. It could come.
Right. Yeah. And I think in that price range of first time home buyer for your area and even small multis, I still love my small multis. I sold a bunch because I knew it was the time to sell, but I'm looking for more. I'll continue to buy I'll probably buy a few more singles than I had thought about before. I still have quite a few in my portfolio, but I was much more heavily in small multis and then in large multis. But I'll probably buy some more single family homes that I renovate to rent. And I'll continue to buy those 4-unit properties, often, because they're going to continue to see the same, phenomenon of increased prices.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be focused on single families because of everything we've just talked about. And then I will add small multis, right, 4 and below, but it has to come from a frustrated landlord, or they'll do seller financing. Because again, in California, even a duplex brings rent control, right?
Does it really?
Yeah. Unless you're house hacking, right? If you live in one and you just rent out the other, you're okay. But if you rent out 2, it's rent control. 5%.
So that's another, really good point is you've got to know your area and what the rules are where you're investing. Like in Pennsylvania, I don't have that at this point. So we can raise rents as much as we need to, but
not California. So again, for me, it's going to be all single family. I just see, first off, we have, the exodus from big cities. So Fresno is the cheapest big city in California. It's getting some Bay Area talent moving there because it's cheaper. Then we have no rent control. It's just lots of good things. And again, I think rents are going to go up. For single family, for example, I might rent a house today for $1,500, a 4.2, right? Fully remodeled, nice area, all of that. I could think by 2022, so a year away, that might be $1,950 or something.
Yeah,
it's coming because again, space is good. I can't keep my houses vacant. They're not even vacant a day these days.
I wonder, Michael, because in my area, our medium house is more like 180,000. So it's a lot less in Pennsylvania, at least in this region.
Sure,
180 to 220 will get you an average first-time home buyer home. And in that price range, the income level is one that's not going to be impacted by higher taxes. Most likely, the Democrats are going to leave the lowest tax brackets the same and just raise it on the higher. But in your area where you've got a medium of, close to 400, is your average renter at an income level that you think their taxes are going to go up on their ordinary income rates such that they can't afford as high rents?
Yeah. So my average renter, I haven't looked in a while, but I looked a couple of years ago, was right around, again, average across hundreds was under 60K, right, for the family. And that's why, and again, that's kind of a California thing, right? You make 60K as a family, you can own a home in most states. You can't in California, even in Fresno. Well, it's hard. So I would suspect my average renters are making a 60K or less, maybe 65 with some inflation. But yeah, I think most of them will be renters. And again, in Fresno, the goal for most of them is to get out of apartments into a house.
Yes.
And they will fight tooth and nail to never go back. So
yeah,
in the end, single family, good. I'm going to go buy a bunch of single family this year. That's my takeaway from what's all this stuff going on.
Yeah, I will too. I will buy the right multifamily properties in the right areas. And I still believe in multifamily. People need apartments to live in. People that can't afford the single family rents are always going to need a place to live. And so I still think that there's value in, and I will continue to my multifamily. But again, you have to kind of shift your strategy. These heavy value adds for quick sales in 3 to 5 years, that is what you want to stay away from. But buying your own, multifamily properties for yourself and maybe a few joint venture partners, holding them for the long term, I still think there's a lot of upside there, and I'll still continue to do that as well.
Perfect. Love it, Anna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.